What's up guys, Kratzy here. Thanks for tuning in for the second episode of the League of Oceania. Before we start, I'd like to let you all know there will be another giveaway this week, but I'll let you all sit back, enjoy this week's episode, and there'll be more on that later. In today's episode, I'll be answering two questions. One from the forums of Cybergamer for tips on shutting down the enemy ADC and how to freeze the lane, and the next question was in the comments of episode 1 regarding tips on counterpicking. So to start off today's episode, I'll jump right into the questions. Our first question was asked in the Cybergamer League of Legends forums and has generated some discussion. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and tips and hope you can all take something from it. Megatags asked, what are some decent tips to shut down their ADC and how do I go about freezing a lane? Well, Megatags, first off, we'll start with freezing your lane. Where do you want to freeze your lane? The best spot to be able to freeze your lane is just outside of tower range but in front of the river zone. I've highlighted them in this image here as black circles. This is just a general area of where you should stick to when freezing a lane. So how do I freeze the lane? Well, to freeze a lane, you must make sure that the enemy minions will always beat yours. To do this, you can start by tanking a few minions and clogging up the lane in one of the ideal areas, and then letting your 6 minions take on theirs, but since you have clogged up the lane, you're able to make sure that the enemy has around 10 to 11 minions. Then, once your enemy has more minions than you, and you are in the perfect position, all you have to do is just take the last hits. Do not auto-attack the minions, just simply take the killing blow at the last possible second. And once your wave dies, you may have to tank the minions for a little bit longer, just so it doesn't go inside the tower range and stays in the perfect position. This leads perfectly into how to shut down an enemy ADC. I'll cover this from a bot laner's perspective, just so it's 2v2 and not including junglers or mid laners. Freezing your lane in these positions will work perfectly in shutting down an enemy ADC. If you can freeze the lane and stop them from getting last hits, you already hurt their gold pool. Another way to shut down the ADC is to try force them out of lane, whether this is simply by going all in on them, or if you have a high zoning potential with your support that they are out of experience range. Once you can force your opponent out of lane, you should immediately start pushing to their tower so that they will lose even more experience and gold from your minions. The second question for today was posted by the Tactical Elmo. He would like to know, what are some tips for counterpicking? Okay, so to give you some tips on counterpicking, first I would like to give you my thoughts and a quick definition on counterpicking. A counterpick is a champion who has a kit or a build that gives them an inherent advantage over another champion. By no means does this mean selecting this champion will make your lane an automatic win. Even if you know exactly why and how to counter your opponent, jungle pressure, roaming opponents, and even bad luck can change the way the lane goes. In my personal opinion, unless I am confident with a certain champion, I would try to avoid counterpicking unless you can be sure you're able to beat them with the champion's supposedly main counter. So, now some tips on counterpicking. First off, there is heaps of things that you could talk about for this issue, so I'm going to give you guys a brief version of a topic that could take up an entire video. The first thing you should know when counterpicking is, what is in their kit that has a weakness, and how can I abuse that? Do they have no escape? Do they have little damage early game? Are they strongest early game and slowly drop off as the game progresses? These are the things you need to think of when counterpicking, and then also their abilities as well. This is very hard to master when you have such little time to think of these things. So practice really just makes perfect. When trying to learn how to counter champions, the more information you have on their champion, the better you will become at counterpicking. I hope that answers or at least helps you out with some further knowledge with your questions. If you guys have anything to add to what I have said, or you have some better tips than what I have said, check out their posts. I've added them in the description and comment with some tips. Okay, so last week I mentioned that I'd be giving a shout out to some of the smaller teams on Oceania. And this week, we have our first team. Currently in the Amateur Pro Division on the Cybergamer League of Legends ladder, youFRAG Esports Team Mizu. youFRAG Esports are an online gaming organization who are committed to being highly competitive in as many games as possible. They pride themselves on not only providing quality players the opportunity to represent them, but also giving quality people the opportunity to represent them. youFRAG Esports Team Mizu have a young lineup with high potential. They have high expectations and will not accept anything short of those. They have recently had success in an online tournament for interstellar gaming, placing third alongside some of the higher teams on the Oceanic server. I asked the team if they had anything to say to potential followers, and they said that they are still a fairly new team with high hopes of making it to the top 5 teams in Australia and Oceania. So a huge shout out to those guys, and hopefully that they can fulfill their dreams of becoming one of the top 5 teams in Australia, and hopefully that this gives them some publicity to be able to become a stronger and more well-known team. Now, if your team would like to get on here, please send me a message with some details and I'll be sure to respond. Okay, and now onto the giveaway. Well, you'll be glad to hear that this week's episodes there will be 2 giveaways. 2 $10 RP codes will be up for grabs, sponsored by youFRAG Esports. In order to win one of these, you will have to do the following. Subscribe to this channel and comment below, and also like youFRAG Esports Facebook page, which I'll put in the description below. The winners will be contacted on YouTube inbox at around 7 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time on Monday the 14th of October. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any tips or you simply want to give some feedback, be sure to comment on the video or message me. Kratzy out.